भेज देंगे तो बेनिफिट होगा।
हाँ ठीक है। All right,
Thank you.
let's. Thank you. All right. Sorry about this. This Yoga Nidra says this one is not working. We'll directly go to the theory. Please come on to your cameras. All right. Can you all hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right. Okay. Sorry about the technical difficulty. I actually tested it 3 times. I don't know for what reason it's not working. I need to fix this. But let's get into the theory session. So basically, योग निद्रा का जो हाई लेवल स्टेप्स है मैं पहले बता देता हूँ, उसके बाद इसके डिटेल्स में जाते हैं। सो योगा निद्रा प्रैक्टिस में क्या होता है, पहले प्रिपरेशन स्टेप होता है जहाँ पे we'll be asking the participant to lie down comfortably in either on the floor or on a mat, and basically we'll be getting them into a mode of relaxation by doing a little bit of breathing so that they settle down their breath. And the instructions will be given in such a way that they're asked to follow the voice of the guide or whoever is providing the Yoga Nidra, to follow the voice simply without analyzing it too much, without concentrating or without making too much of thought process. You just need to simply follow the instructions given by the instructor, and then we lead them into a state of calmness and stillness. We ask them to look at their body, analyze their body, observe how their body points are touching the ground, feel the body and the sensations, and then we start the session of Yoga Nidra. In the first few minutes of the Yoga Nidra, we once again emphasize them about the sounds that they are hearing around themselves, whether it may be an external sound outside or a sound within their rooms, or it can be any kind of sounds. We first make them internalize all the sounds that they hear so that they can differentiate what is external and what is internal. And then we take them into a series of steps whereby we are using the consciousness of the participant, and then we rotate the consciousness using different mechanisms. The first mechanism that we use is body parts, right? Yoga Nidra में क्या होता है, हम body parts को we do the rotational movement of the body parts, and then we go into breathing with different locational breathing, like belly breathing or chest may breathing, throat may breathing, nostrils may breathing, right? We do that. And then we take them into feelings and sensations, right? So feeling of opposites. For example, it can be cold, feeling of coldness, feeling of hotness, pain and pleasure, right? Feeling of heaviness and feeling of lightness and things like that. So opposite dualities का जो sensations और feelings है उसको हम invoke करते हैं. उसके बाद हम finally जाते हैं visualization में we give them scenarios or pictures, mental pictures, जैसे कि it may be a picture of a temple, or it may be an image of a sunset, or image of maybe a graveyard, at times, or image of water flowing, so on and so forth. So multiple type of images are spoken about, and we ask the participant to visualize those sceneries or those images. And as the participant is visualizing those images, we give some instructions behind the scenes. And then while these 4 things are going on,
किसी का unmute है. Disturbance है.
Yeah. So before we start these 4 steps, which is the first one is the rotation of body consciousness, second one is breathing patterns, third one is sensations or feelings of sensations, and the fourth one is visualization. So ये 4 करने से पहले we ask them to do a resolve or sankalp, है ना? So एक संकल्प लेने के लिए कहते हैं before this, and then that sankalp is taken after these 4 different steps as well. So 2 times sankalp is we ask the participant to take the sankalp 2 times, once before the sessions and once after the session. And then finally we end the session. We gently ask them to bring their awareness back into their body, into their room. And then slowly we ask them to relax their fingers, move their toes, etc. And then we slowly bring them out of the Yoga Nidra session. So typically this takes any time between 15 minutes, you can go all the way up to 45 minutes. So this is what happened. This was a 30-minute Yoga Nidra session. For whatever reason, it did not work. But I just wanted to tell the steps because we'll be using and revisiting those steps when we look at the theory part. Okay. All right. So before we start, I wanted to first give my sincere acknowledgements and gratitude to Swami Satyananda Saraswati, who not only practiced Yoga Nidra, but also developed its modern and simplified form that we use it, many people use it today. He says that most people sleep without resolving their tensions, and this is called Nidra. Nidra means sleep, no matter what and why. But Yoga Nidra means sleep after taking away all your burdens, after taking away all your tensions. And it is a blissful and higher quality sleep altogether. So this is the kind of a quick definition or the experience given by Swami Satyananda Saraswati. So what we'll be covering today, before going into explaining what is Yoga Nidra, we will firstly what is sleep. स्लीप क्या है, निद्रा क्या है, उसके बाद योगा निद्रा का डेफिनेशन देखेंगे, उसका क्या डिफरेंसेस है वो देखेंगे. And then we'll speak about the different type of tensions, how are these tensions released, how exactly yoga nidra will work. It has a touch point with pratyahara. There is something called sankalp. We'll see what is a sankalp and how it is useful. And body parts, rotation, feelings, and visualization, and all these things, how exactly this works internally. What is the relationship with karma? Karma or yoga nidra, kya relation hai? Or how many variations, how many types of yoga nidras are possible, and what exactly you achieve in yoga nidra. And then one common thing that we hear in Yoga Nidra, because it looks very much like hypnosis. So we have to understand what is the difference between hypnosis as well as Yoga Nidra. Okay, these are the quick, some of the topics we'll be covering today. So let's start with sleep and relaxation. So according to you all, what is relaxation? Yes, does sleep give relaxation? Or do you really feel relaxed after sleeping? What are your thoughts? Go ahead, cousin जी बताइए.
After long sleep, it will fatigue. मतलब ज्यादा सोने से ऐसा लगता है कि थकान ज्यादा लगती है. मतलब कम सोएंगे अपने मतलब 4 बजे नींद उठती है तो उठ जाएंगे तो फ्रेशनेस होता है कि रिलैक्सेशन होता है, लेकिन ज्यादा सोएंगे तो फिर वो ज्यादा दर्द जैसा लगता
है. जी करेक्ट, ठीक है. लेकिन आप रिलैक्स फील करते हैं स्लीप करने के बाद? यू फील रिलैक्स? अच्छा, कभी कभी आपको लगा है कि 8 घंटे सोने के बाद फिर भी थकान हो, you're tired even after sleeping? Some people feel, right? If they sleep the entire night and then next day morning they feel tired, right? So sleep, जैसे हम समझते हैं at a layman's term, we say that okay चलो थोड़ा relax कर लेते हैं ना, tired हो गया relax करते हैं. So we feel that physical resting, right? Physical resting is relaxation. That is what we generally equate ourselves to. But if you look at it a little bit deeper, sleep is not a complete relaxation. Normal sleep, which we're used to, is not a complete relaxation. So complete relaxation happens only when all your inner tensions are removed. So what are these inner tensions? There are 3 types of tensions. One is your muscular tension, your emotional tension, and your mental tension. These are the 3 types of tensions that are there typically everybody. Unless these 3 tensions are removed or reduced, you will not get a complete relaxation. So when you sleep, what happens? You may get a physical relaxation to a large extent because your body is at complete rest. You may get to some level a mental relaxation as well because your mind is slightly cut off. So you may get a mental relaxation to some extent, but you may not get an emotional relaxation because your emotions are still running in the background, and your mental as well is not completely relaxed because because of the thoughts that are going on in your mind, either in the subconscious mind or in your conscious mind, right? So whenever we speak about relaxation, we have to speak about relaxation in these three levels: muscular level, emotional level, and mental level. And this is what Yoga Nidra is going to help achieve. So what is Nidra? If you go strictly by the definition in Patanjali Sutra, सबको याद है पतंजलि का सूत्र? Gavana, Viparyaya, Vikalpa, Nidra, Smrityaya. So he speaks about sleep as one of the vrittis, right? One of the five vrittis. Vrittis means modifications or patterns in your consciousness. So strictly, if you go by definition of Maharishi Patanjali, this is what it is. So it is a condition of mind where your knowledge to the external world, knowledge or even your connection to the external world is completely cut off. Why? Because your senses are at rest, your mind and your senses are disconnected, right? So you go into a state of kind of unconscious state to a large extent because your mind is completely cut off from the sensory organs of your body. But as I explained, the relaxation is not complete. It is a partial relaxation for you that you get. So if you look at as human mind, so there are three levels, right? One is your conscious mind when you're awake, when you're active. So you are working through a conscious mind. And then when you go to sleep, the moment you go to sleep, the first, maybe a few hours of the sleep is usually in the subconscious mind. This is where you have your dreams, right? Dreams come in your subconscious mind. And then when you go to deep sleep, when you go to really deep sleep, usko jo REM sleep jo bolte hain, there's no dream during that time, and that is your unconscious level. So you go to that unconscious level where your sense organs are kind of cut off completely. So this is the three different states of consciousness that happens, and sleep progresses from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind and to your unconscious mind. When you go to your unconscious mind, you are during a subconscious state, you're a little bit aware of what is happening, right? You may be aware your sense organs are not completely cut off. So your awareness is slightly there, but you're not fully conscious, right? You're half conscious. When you go to your unconscious state, your sensory organs are cut off mostly, and you're not aware that you're sleeping, right? You just go into a state where you're not cognizing, you don't know what is happening exactly. All you know is that at the end of the day, you get up, you have a good sleep, and you come up. So your awareness is not there in the stages of unconscious mind. So this is the important part in the normal state. What happens in Yoga Nidra? So in Yoga Nidra, what we try to do is we try to get into a state, enter into a state between sleep and wakefulness. Okay, it is neither sleep nor is it wakefulness. Okay, so you are consciously trying to keep your awareness. You want to keep your awareness ready so that you don't fall asleep. So that is why it is sleep, between sleep and the wakefulness. So you can also call it as a dynamic sleep or a sleepless sleep, or you can say dreaming and sleeping consciously. So you are sleeping, but you're conscious, you're aware that you're sleeping, right? That is the difference between a normal sleep and a Yoga Nidra sleep. So if I have to look at it from a different stages, so first एक हो गया आपका wakeful sleep. So wakeful sleep का physiological, psychological dimension is your conscious mind, and over here you are aware of the external surroundings. What is happening? Your sense organs are constantly giving inputs to you. You are aware of what is happening externally. Dreaming sleep, your subconscious mind में जो sleep होता है, that is the state, whatever experiences you have that time, that is when release of your fears, right? All your fears that you may have in your suppressed state, your emotions and desires, all these start to manifest during the subconscious, mind. Sorry, the dreaming state, and then you go into the deep sleep state. In your deep sleep state, it is much, much deeper. So all your awakening of your primary instincts, जो how all your पूरा संस्कार आपका जो है वो सब वहां से it starts coming up slowly. So that is your deep sleep. Yoga Nidra is in between these two things. So it is either just not fully awake, you're not fully asleep, you're somewhere in between, right? तो इसमें हम क्या करते हैं कि using the techniques like visualization and body consciousness and other things, we are basically going slowly into dream state, slowly into unconscious state. Again, you come up into subconscious. Again, you come into wakeful state like this. So you'll keep oscillating between all these three states, up and down. Okay, that is what happens. When you when you do this Yoga Nidra session, so that you're oscillating, so that you don't put the participant into sleep. So you want to keep him awake. So you take him down slowly. He goes. Sometimes he may go into deep sleep. Again, you wake him up. He comes up again. He comes to wakeful state. So he goes up and down, right? According to his capacity, he'll be operating in between these states. And the important thing is that you are keeping that person aware, keeping him awake and aware. Okay. So how did this start? Yoga Nidra. So Yoga Nidra is actually there is a particular tantric technique. This is called Nyasa. Nyasa is called the technique. So the meaning of Nyasa means to place your mind at some point. Placing the mind at some point, that is what Nyasa means. Wherein in each body part, there's a particular mantra that is placed, in the traditional tantric text. As you do the rotation of the body parts, they'll place a mantra in each of the body parts, right? So that is how that used to be taught previously. This is a little bit of a complicated process. It requires a lot of techniques, a lot of guidance from different, from experts and to follow it. So Yoga Nidra is basically a simplified practice using the principles of Nyasa. So that is what Yoga Nidra is today. It is done in a simplified way. Thereby, you're getting the benefits of the traditional Nyasa technique, but in a much more simplified form. So Yoga Nidra basically is a technique which uses the principle of what is called as Nyasa. So how does this work? So let's go a little bit deeper into this. So as I said, in the normal conscious state, when we are awake, our sense organs are constantly receiving some stimulus, right? Some signals are coming from the external world into the body, and that triggers, that goes to your brain, and then the brain triggers a response, and then you are doing the activity on a day-to-day basis. But when we are in this conscious state, your brain is constantly getting these signals from the sense organs and outside. So your receptivity, right? Your receptivity is at a lower stage when you're conscious, in the conscious state. But when you detach your mind a little bit from your senses, right, and you go a little bit deeper, then you'll find that your receptivity increases drastically. Okay, so whatever you say or you try to understand, or you try to impart a particular knowledge in a conscious state, if you compare that with the unconscious state, the receptivity in the unconscious state is much higher than in the conscious state. Why? Because there is no disturbance from the sensory organs. Okay, this is the core principle that is used in the process of Yoga Nidra. So many yogis and many people have used this technique and principle to do wonderful things. For example, in addition to relaxation, of course, which you get, you can also learn, for example, new languages. Because suppose you want to learn a new language, or you want to study a particular topic and you have very less time, you want to go deep into that particular topic. So they use this technique of the subconscious state, or staying in between wakeful and the sleep state, to impart this knowledge directly into your subconscious state, right? So for example, you can test this out yourself. You can take an audio book or a recording, a video that you want to hear. You can hear that while you're asleep, right? While you're about to go to sleep, maybe take a 1 hour video and start hearing it in the audio channel, and then after a while you'll go asleep, right? You may not be awake to hear it, but it will still be going on in the background. The next day morning, it is okay. You just let the video audio to continue. Next day morning, you get up and immediately listen to that same audio once again, right? with your direct consciousness. And once you do that, if you repeatedly do this for a few days, then that particular knowledge, whatever you heard in that 1 hour, gets deeply embedded in your mind in a quicker way than you read with your conscious mind. So this was a technique used by many people, including many yogis, to learn a lot of languages and impart a lot of knowledge of topics very quickly into their system. So इसका main principle ये है कि your subconscious mind is more obedient than your conscious mind, right? So has it ever happened? Have you all taken New Year resolution? You all taken New Year resolution, right? नहीं है, अच्छा. तो जो भी न्यू ईयर रिजल्ट्स मैंने तो लिया है बहुत सारा, लेकिन आई हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू कीप इवन अ सिंगल न्यू ईयर रेजोल्यूशन, राइट? व्हाई इज दैट? बिकॉज आवर एक्टिविटी दैट वी डू, व्हाटएवर संकल्प जो हम लेते हैं कॉन्शियस माइंड में, it goes to a particular level inside your mind, right? It doesn't go deep rooted. So what happens is you get distracted by other things happening around you, so your mind actually wanders away, and that sankalp or that resolve goes away. It is not no longer acting as a force in your body. It goes away, right? But if you put that same sankalp in a subconscious mind, then that will start driving you. It will stay with you throughout your life. Actually, it will be like an undercurrent. जैसे एक मोटर है चलती रहेगी आपके body के अंदर. It will keep reminding you. But how are we exactly functioning today on a day-to-day basis? In your conscious mind का जो भी हम activity करते हैं, it is all driven by your subconscious mind and your unconscious mind, whether you like it or not, right? आप कैसे react करते हैं, how you are reacting to a particular incident. How is this happening? It is all happening because of your past tendencies and your past karmas. And where are all these stored? This is stored in your subconscious level and your unconscious level, right? So suddenly you may get angry with somebody, right? You react in a particular way. Behavior is in a particular way, right? How is all this is happening? Naturally, how is it happening? Because your subconscious and unconscious mind is running your conscious mind without your knowledge, right? So if you want to address some of these problems, then you have to go to that level and address your problems, so that in the conscious level, you are able to see those manifestations. So that is what the principle is in Yoga Nidra. So this state between the sleep and the wakefulness is called the hypnagogic state. The medical term is called the hypnagogic state. So this is the state you enter into whenever you come into the Yoga Nidra state. So जैसे कि मैंने कहा कि if you want to learn a particular technique, learn a particular language, then you first embed that into your unconscious mind. And then if you directly listen to it when you're in the awake state, basically you're creating a communication bridge between your conscious mind and your unconscious mind. So why is it that you react in a particular way today, in a very unconscious way you react? Because you don't know that your reaction is stemming out from your subconscious mind or your unconscious mind. But if you know that if you're able to build a bridge between your subconscious mind and unconscious mind and your conscious mind, if you're able to build that bridge, then you can positively respond. Instead of reacting, you will respond to that situation, right? There's a difference between reacting to a situation and responding to a situation. So reaction is driven by your behavior, and responding will be consciously done. So this is the key difference between the conscious reaction and conscious reaction. So sankalp jo hum lete hain at the subconscious level, it is like a seed. So you're putting a seed into your mind, and then that will keep growing. And when you're in the conscious state, so you're going to be using the power of that seed so that you can manifest it in your conscious level. So now, though we say that we are cutting yourself away from all the senses, we are just keeping one auditory channel open. So 5 senses, from the 5 senses, 4 senses you're cutting off in the Yoga Nidra. Only one channel is open, which is the auditory channel, sirf voice, right? And we keep that voice open because otherwise the person will go to sleep, right? So we keep only that voice open, and we give instructions to to the individual, but all the other 4 channels are temporarily shut off. So that is the high level. If you see, this is how Yoga Nidra is work. इसका एक और deeper जाएंगे हम. One more level will go deeper. Before that, many tensions, I spoke about 3 different tensions, right? One is the muscular tension. मस्कुलर टेंशन क्या होता है? फिजिकल लेवल का जो भी टेंशन से आपका, because caused by your nervous system, caused by say imbalances in your hormones, or it can be even physical stress, right? This is very, very easily resolved by Yoga Nidra in the Yoga Nidra session. The second one is your emotional tension. Emotional tension arises because of the dualities, as I said, right? Love, hate, relationship, your profit, loss, success, failure, जो भी जैसे opposites होता है, this becomes the reason for your emotional tension that you have. Now, why is it an emotional tension? Because most of the time we do not express these tensions. We don't speak about it. We don't bring it out, and we don't discuss it, and we usually suppress it, right? Either we suppress it in our mind, or we don't address that particular tension in a positive way. So it becomes embedded into your system. So this is your emotional tension. And the third tension is because of mental activity, right? Excessive mental activity on a day-to-day basis, whether you like it or not. If you just walk through a street for 100 yards, you may want to reach a particular destination, and your mind will be focused on reaching that particular destination. But as you go, you are seeing so many things, right? You're seeing a shop, you're seeing, hearing some sounds. Whether you like it or not, your brain is absorbing all these things. Your impressions are being formed into your mind, and then all these things are registered into your mind, and it gets accumulated into the mental body, right? So over a period of time, without your knowledge, you will be associating some of your actions because of superficial reasons. So you get angry. You may say that I'm getting angry because of a particular situation that is happening outside. But whereas really, if you see those, anger or any other expression that comes out of you is probably because of your mental state, right? So mental tensions is basically related to all types of activities that happen at your mental level and how you want to relax them. So basically, these three different tensions is what we address in any Yoga Nidra session. We want to make sure that all these three different tensions are relieved or relaxed, at the end of the Yoga Nidra session, right? So let's see what is Sankalp. Sankalp kya hai? Sankalp is, in English, we can call it as a resolution. It is a very simple way, a powerful way to reshape your whole personality. So संकल्प का different types है. So योगा निद्रा में हम ये advice करते हैं कि जब भी resolve लेना है तो हम ऐसा एक resolve choose करेंगे which is at a very higher level, right? We don't look at taking resolves to take care of simple things in your life. You want something higher in your life. For example, you can use this sankalp for simple things like, okay, I want to get out of a particular compulsory behavior, right? I have a cigarette, I smoke cigarette, I want to come out of it. That can be your sankalp, right? It's a valid sankalp. और आपका कुछ और है, I'm getting angry very often, I'm a bad hot-tempered person, I want to get it. That can also be a sankalp. लेकिन ये कहा जाता है कि instead of, you can do that, or you can do all these things to test the Yoga Nidra technique, whether it works or not. But over a period of time, you should choose such a sankalp which takes you to a higher level, something bigger than that. जैसे कि if we are all yoga teachers, so we can say something like, I want to get to the highest possible level of yoga, right? Or I want to get to the highest possible level of spirituality. And why do we say this? Because when you do those, to have such a high aspiration, all these smaller things will automatically get resolved, right? So when when you reach the stage of high spirituality or yoga at a particular level, then all these smaller things will naturally go away. So in Yoga Nidra, they typically advise that you choose something much higher. But if you want to test it out in the initial stages, then you pick something that is very personal to you, right? जैसे कि examples मैंने दिया था. So basically, Sankalpa is a way to positively shape your life in a different way. And it gives you a choice. Normally, this is the debate between free will and destiny, right? Do I have a choice to run, or is everything destiny, fate, जो बोलते हैं, fate or free will? तो यहाँ पे एक choice दिया जाता है आपके free will को fully utilize करने के, right? So that is what it is. in Sankalp. So how do we do the Sankalp? We have to make the Sankalp in a very short way, in a very simple language, right? इसको ज़्यादा complicate नहीं करना है. And don't mix too many things into one Sankalp in a one session, right? So you pick a particular Sankalp which is very simple for you to understand, and you stick to it and practice that for a period of time. So over a period of time, you should start seeing the results. Then you choose a different Sankalp if you want to. Don't mix 2 or 3 Sankalp. For example, I'm a hot, bad-tempered person. मुझे कुछ और कंपल्सिव बिहेवियर है, मुझे सिगरेट भी छोड़ना है, सब कुछ मैं एक ही संकल्प में नहीं डालूंगा ना. I'll pick any one issue, वो एक इश्यू को पहले रिजॉल्व करूंगा, उसके बाद दूसरे में जाऊंगा, right? So that your mind is automatically tuned to focus on that particular problem at a time. It is like a seed. तो एक पॉट में आप एक ही सीड डालेंगे, है ना? You will not put multiple types of plants in one pot. You will try to put only one so that it grows properly. In the same way, you pick one problem and you address that problem in one sankalpa over a period of time. Then you can change the go to the next sankalpa. So that is sankalpa for you. और क्या है इसमें? हाँ, तो संकल्प इसका लास्ट पॉइंट ये है कि यू आर नॉट यूजिंग संकल्प टू फुलफिल योर डिजायर. जैसे कि मुझे एक बड़ा घर बनाना है या मुझे कुछ पैसा चाहिए, तो you are not using sankalp to do all these things. This is sankalp is more internal for you. You're trying to go past your own barriers and your limitations, right? You need to use the sankalpa for those purposes, to toss your barriers and difficulties, and not to gain something like मुझे पैसा चाहिए, मुझे नौकरी चाहिए. That is not. You can use it. There's nothing wrong in it. You can use. Maybe you will get that or get that as well. But this is more useful to cross your own limitations and your barriers. Okay, so that is what we recommend in doing the sankalpa. So in simply, if you have to say, sankalpa is like a force of your will, right? आपका जो will है, आपका जो शक्ति है, so it acts like an undercurrent, running throughout your day, even after your yoga nidra session is completed, that keeps running behind in the underground, and it keeps guiding you towards that particular goal, right? It keeps on, making you aware that you need to go into a particular direction. That is why it is a very powerful way to reshape your entire personality, right? That is what it is saying. Now, what is the relationship of yoga nidra and karma, right? इसके बारे में थोड़ा देख लेते हैं. So, what is karma? Karma means our action and our impressions, right? Every day we perform some actions, and those actions create some impressions on you. So that is your karma. Now, these impressions, where do they go? They go and register themselves in your subconscious mind and your unconscious mind, right? Every day, right? Every day, whether you like it or not, your impressions are getting registered in your subconscious, unconscious. Some of them you know because you're consciously doing an action. Some of them you don't even know. For example, you may hear a sound from somewhere. आपका कुछ smell आ गया. You're walking on the street. Multiple things are your sensory organs are taking. Everything is getting stored in your subconscious mind and your unconscious mind. Because of these stored impressions in your unconscious and subconscious mind, there is a particular tendency. आपका behavior एक direction में जाता है. You start moving in a particular direction unconsciously, right? So वो जो tendency, that is what is called vasana. Vasana in Sanskrit we call it as vasana, or that becomes a tendency to go in a particular direction. And because of the tendency, your reaction to a particular situation is dictated by these tendencies. How you react, right? Becomes your samskara, your consequence. Your consequence is that your whatever action you took, uska jo bhi consequence hai, that becomes your samskara. So together, in a normal language, without going into all these technicalities of vasana and samskara, together we call all these three as karma, right? We say this is the karma. Karma means actions, and actions, consequences of the actions. Similar to how a camera is registering all the activities, your mind, your body, and your consciousness is also registering all these activities. So what happens and where are these registers stored, impressions stored? एक है deepest layer. Deepest layer of your samskara is your unconscious mind. That is the deepest layer, right? That is where the if you look at impressions that are coming from your previous birth, previous birth, they all, mostly stay in your unconscious mind. It's a primitive instincts. आपका जो core desire है, which for example, if somebody is really, really angry all the time, right? He's really, really hot tempered. So he must be having some kind of an impression in his unconscious mind, which is driving this. It's very, very powerful, right? He's not able to control, right? So it's a very primitive instinct, basic instinct जो बोलते हैं वो unconscious mind में जाता है. It is very difficult to bring that out of the consciousness. Second level होता है which is in the transition stage. That is what stays in the subconscious mind, right? And then the third one is what you experience, what you're really aware of, that is at your conscious level. So if you look at it from a karma technicality, we call this as your sanchita karma. Sanchita karma is the storehouse of your entire karmas. That is, you can equate that in roughly to the unconscious state. Your current karma or the allotted karma is your prarabdha. हम बोलते हैं ना कि ये उसका प्रारब्ध है. तो ये आपका subconscious mind से it starts transitioning. It is in the transitioning mode. It is slowly, one by one, it is coming into your conscious mind for you to action. Then is your actionable karma, which is called the priyamana karma. That is what is there in your conscious mind. And then जो आपने action किया है, उसका जो future consequences है, उसको हम बोलते हैं आगामी karma. So the आगामी karma is what is driving your cycle of birth and death, right? So whatever you do right now, however you reciprocate to a particular situation, whatever action you perform, that determines, that is your agami karma, right? For example, you took a loan. You took a loan today, आपको EMI भरना है 20 साल के लिए. So that is for 20 years you're locked, right? So that is your agami karma. या आपने decide किया मुझे बच्चा चाहिए, तो वो तो 30 years का project हो गया, है ना? So 30 years का आपका lock हो गया, तो ये आपका agami karma. ऐसे सिंपल लैंग्वेज में आप ऐसे सोच सकते हैं. So basically योगा निद्रा में हम क्या करते हैं कि we are trying to take all these impressions from your unconscious mind and your subconscious mind. We want to bring it up to your surface. Okay, and we want the participant to experience it. Now, is it better to experience all these, different karma? Some of them may be good, some of them may be really bad. Do you think it is difficult? It is easy to experience this in a confined, safe place, जैसे कि योगा निद्रा calm situation में आप experience करें, वो अच्छा है, या बाहर जाके आप उस situation को actually face करें? It is better to experience it, in a confined space, right? ऐसा नहीं है कि you will those actions, the consequence will not happen. Those consequences will happen eventually for you in the physical dimension. But your response to that will be completely different. You will be able to handle those situations in a much, much different way. So Yoga Nidra ka relation ye hai karma ke sath. You are burning. It's an opportunity to bring away or bring out all your old samskaras into the surface and experience it, and you burn it. Okay, that is one of the things that happens in the Yoga Nidra session. और एक और टेक्निकलिटी ये है कि you remember the Ashtanga concept of Patanjali Maharishi. So you have Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, right? So Yoga Nidra comes in the Pratyahara stage. So this is equated to the Pratyahara stage. So Pratyahara mein, as you would have studied as a definition, what you do, you are withdrawing your mind, isn't it, from your senses. That is exactly what you're doing in Yoga Nidra as well, correct? So it is directly equated to the Pratyahara stage. इसमें दो टाइप का प्रत्याहारा होता है. एक है light, you can call it as a light pratyahara, and a deep pratyahara. In Yoga Nidra, we focus on the light pratyahara, not on the deep pratyahara. Okay, so इसका कुछ some experiments have been done on this, and इसका एक scientific reason भी है कि why is it that we experience calmness? Why is it that we experience some psychic experiences, siddhi jo prapt hota hai, so many other things happen. How does all these things happen? So इसका एक experiment भी हुआ था by एक doctor Isaac Bentau. So he did a experiment with participants in which he recorded the different waves that are being formed in the body of a participant. So what happens when you go into meditative states in Pratyahara or other deep meditative states is that in your circulation, in your circulatory body, there are some waves that gets generated, okay, as part of, because of the your meditative state. These waves travel from your circulatory system to your brain. Okay, and within your brain, जो आपका cerebrum है, around your brain there is a fluid that is called the cerebral fluid. It's a very important concept, a very important fluid in your body, because उसका जो कम होने से या disturbance होने से you will start having mental issues, right? It's a very important fluid. So these waves that are created in your circulatory level, and it reaches your cerebral, and in response to that, your cerebral fluid will also create an alternative current, alternative waveform. Okay, and it triggers your brain. So when those waves are formed in the cerebral fluid, it triggers different parts of your brain, right? And that is where some of these experiences are felt, whether you feel really calm, you go into a deep meditative state, or sometimes you have psychic experiences. जैसे कि आप you know the future, right? For example, you know something is going to happen in the future, और आपको कुछ और सिद्धि जो प्राप्त होता है, वो सब उस लेवल पे होता है, right? But in Yoga Nidra, we don't go to the deep Pratyahara state. So that is a distinction in Yoga Nidra. So we always stay in the light Pratyahara state because we don't want to go into that psychic level of experiences. So एक चीज ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि Yoga Nidra पे you should never have any kind of these visions or siddhi जो है, so you don't go into that direction at all. You stay little bit in the earlier stages of Pratyahara, right? You are staying in the borderline. So that is a relationship, the scientific explanation जो प्रत्याहार में होता है और जो योग निद्रा में हम करते हैं. What are the different types of yoga nidra? Basically 3 types होता है. एक है relaxative, which is what we spoke about until now, and basically it gives you a calmness in all the 3 tensions are removed. Second method, as I said, is to actually learn something, pick up some new skill or learn something new. It is used in that fashion as well. And third one is more in a spiritual level. So you can use Yoga Nidra to actually go to higher states, including Samadhi. It makes it easier for you to go into the Samadhi state as well. So 3 different ways Yoga Nidra is offered. We typically, in a normal day-to-day, we do the first one, right? That is what we do most of the time. The second or third ke liye, or thoda technique, you need to go a little bit more deeper to understand the techniques of this. But this is the most simplest way to use Yoga Nidra. This we've already, I already discussed what are the different steps in Yoga Nidra. So I'm not going to go into that. Now, let's come into what is this, how each of these steps, for example, here you have this conscious rotation, feelings and visualizations, how exactly this works at the brain, what happens inside the brain when you do these things. Let's look at that. The first one is consciously rotating your body parts, right? So you'll start maybe with the right hand, you'll say right thumb, feel your right thumb, become aware of your first finger, second finger, third finger, right? And then you say become aware of your wrist, about your elbow, shoulder, so on and so forth, right? You go in a particular direction. So ये क्या होता है, क्यों करते हैं? So in a normal, if you have to compare the approach of Yoga Nidra to traditional medicine, like a neurosurgeon, if there's a particular problem which is related to your brain, but it is affecting a particular part of your body, normally the neurosurgeon will go from the brain, in the direction from the brain to the part of the body, right? So he will stimulate, he will give you something, medicines or whatever he will do to stimulate that particular part of your brain so that your body part is ultimately resolved. Whatever issue you have in your body part is resolved. So this direction is called psychosomatic. Psychic means your brain, soma means your body, from your brain to your body. Whereas in Yoga Nidra, we do the reverse. So what are we doing in Yoga Nidra? We say, okay, first feel your finger, feel your whatever, wrist, feel your elbow. So we go the reverse direction. It's called somatocycle, from your body to your brain. We go in the reverse direction. So when we go in this reverse direction, it induces a lot of relaxation and it clears your nerve pathways. And that is the reason you are able to feel relaxed. In addition to this, it also releases prana, it releases energy as well. So when your nerve paths are cleared and your energies are released, these energies, what do? They go and resolve your problems. If there is any tissues that is, that is stressed out, it will go and help to regenerate that tissue. Or if any particular body part is harmed, it goes and tries to rejuvenate that particular body part. So we go in the reverse direction in yoga. The most important thing is that ये जो parts हम बोलते हैं, this is not a random order, right? This is directly mapped to the specific points in your brain. So if you take a cross section of your brain में there are specific points. जैसे कि number 1 जो लिखा है, that represents toes. This is a part of your brain, right? Number 2 is your ankle. Number 3 is your knee. Number 4 is whatever, hip, like this. Every part of your body is directly mapped to particular location inside your brain. Okay? इसको हम कह सकते हैं कि this is one hologram of your body. Physical body का एक hologram है brain के अंदर. इसको medical terms में हम बोलते हैं homunculus, HOMUNCULUS. This is what this place is called, right? So ये जो हम order बोलते हैं, random order नहीं है. This is a deep-rooted science. It is directly maps to what is there in your brain, right? And then a particular direction and particular way in which you say it, and then we move it quickly, right? You don't stay in one particular body part for a long time. We quickly move your consciousness. Why do we do that? Because we don't want that person to concentrate on a particular place, because the moment you start concentrating, then your flow of energy stops. You're breaking your rhythm. So we want to quickly move to different parts of your body, but in a specified order, right? So a combination of this, one is direct brain mapping inside your body, and then the reverse path from your body to your brain. Both these things together creates two things. One is it relaxes your nerve pathways, right? Second thing is it releases prana, it releases energy, using which you're basically rejuvenating your tissues, oxygen level आपका बढ़ता है, your organs becomes more relaxed, and that is why you feel physically relaxed at the end of the Yoga Nidra session, even though you have not slept, right? You just took maybe 15 minutes to do this body parts rotation, but in that 15 minutes, all these things are happening in the background in your brain and your body, which ultimately makes you feel relaxed at a physical level. Next, we invoke these feelings, right? Opposite feelings, जैसे कि, heaviness and lightness, cold and heat, or, pleasure and pain. So why do we do all these things? And why do we do this? So in our brain, throughout our body, let's talk our body first. Throughout our body, everywhere there are tiny sense organs, receptors, right? So wherever, suppose you touch anywhere, you feel a pain, right? Or you touch something hot, you feel hot immediately. So there are tiny receptors throughout your body, and that constantly is taking that information back to your brain. So where exactly does it take to your brain? So in your brain, there are different centers. जैसे कि एक pain center होता है, एक pleasure center होता है, right? एक hunger center. Each part of your brain is once again similar to the body parts. Your brain is also mapped according to the different sensations. There's a pain center, there's a pleasure center, hunger center, like that. There are different centers. For example, there's a pain and pleasure center example that is shown here. See the red color dots that you see here, that is your pain network in your brain, right? And the green one that you see here, that is your reward network or pleasure network. So whenever you experience either physical pain or like social exclusion, घर में कुछ death हो गया, you have a bereavement in your family, or any kind of negative situation that you have in your life, your pain network gets activated, right? Similarly, when you have a pleasurable experience, like you have, you had a physical pleasure, you got something nice, then your pleasure points are activated. So when we do this, invoke these feelings of opposites in the Yoga Nidra session. So normally, even in our life as well, either one of this is working all the time, right? Either you feel a pain or you feel a pleasure, right? There are maybe a few occasions where pain and pleasure operate together. There may be some scenarios where you're so blissful that pain and pleasure are operating together. But usually it is either one of these, right? And these two are operating from your right hemisphere and your left hemisphere. Okay, normally. What we want to do, why is it that you're suffering? Why is it that everybody is suffering? Because of these dualities, right? Either we have extreme pain or we have extreme happiness. We are not able to control both, right? So we want to bring it at a balance, right? So what we are trying to do in the Yoga Nidra is we want to invoke both these feelings at the same time. We want to invoke both these at the same time in quick successions. Okay, so that both of it comes to the surface. So normally क्या होता है जैसे कि आप let's say you're going into a movie theater, right? You're going to a movie theater and let's say the movie is already started. So as soon as you go in, the audio is so much that your ears, you feel really deaf when you enter the theater, right? If the movie is already started. But slowly, your ears will adjust to the sound. And then after a while, you don't feel it that it is problematic, right? You get adjusted to the particular sound. So in similar way, in Yoga Nidra, we don't want that brain to adjust to that particular sound, right? Before it adjusts, we want to move to the next feeling. So इसलिए जब हम let's say that you invoke the feeling of heaviness as an example. You invoke the feeling of heaviness. By the time he or she really feels heavy, you quickly move to lightness. So you start telling that you feel light. So you don't want the heaviness sense to sink in completely. Before that, you bring the next opposite sensation. So both these sensations, we want to bring it to the surface together. So इससे क्या होता है? So it creates a new what is called a neuronal circuit. A new circuit where both these opposite dualities are operating in the same time. Okay, we want to bring both. Why do we want to bring both to the surface? Because you want to be balanced, right? You want to get out of these dualities, and you want to have a balanced situation so that you experience both at the same time. The more and more you experience this together, then outward in your day-to-day activities, you will also tend to manifest the same kind of balance, right? So that is why we in Yoga Nidra, we basically use this as a technique to attack your emotional reactions. So what are these? So इसमें क्या था? Body में क्या था? This was your physical stress. We were addressing the physical stress here. इस technique में हम emotional reactions को address कर pain and pleasure. What is it? This is emotional faculty, right? You're trying to bring a balance in your emotions at your subconscious and unconscious level so that you manifest that in your conscious level in your out. So that is the purpose of using this opposite feelings technique. Then the third thing that you do is you're doing visualizations. जैसे कि you talk about a temple, you talk about a sunset, you pick a lot of common situations that every individual has gone through, snow-capped mountains, or you can say a waterfall or a river, right? Things like that, which commonly everybody has experienced. You take all these things. So why do we do this visualization? So visualization is attacking the third aspect of it, which is your samskaras or your mental activities. I said that your activities are impressed into your mind at three levels: at the conscious level, subconscious level, and your unconscious level, right? So you want to bring about all the samskaras out as deep as possible. You want to bring it out. So visualization helps in this particular aspect. So you see, Patanjali, once again in the sutras, he speaks about swapna, right? He says the mind can be made steady by giving it the knowledge of dream and sleep for the support. But before we understand the dream state, before you understand visualization, you want to understand what exactly is happening in dream, right? What is dream? Wait, question after, right? Now, we normally think that we are dreaming only when we are asleep, right? But in reality, you are actually dreaming at every time. Even right now, when we are sitting, we are at some level, we are actually dreaming, but we are not recognizing the fact that we are dreaming. Why? Because our conscious mind is disturbed by your sensory organs at all the time. It is like this. In the same movie theater example, you go and let's say interval जो होता है, जब interval movie में होता है, they show some advertisements, right, in the theater. जब क्या होता है, your light is on, right? your light is on. It's not a dark, your theater is not dark. Your light is on, and some advertisement is going on the screen, but your mind is not focused on the advertisement, right? Your mind is not necessarily focused on the screen. You might be talking to somebody on the side because your light is distracting you, right? The moment the light is switched off, automatically your focus goes to the screen, right? Any theater you go, if you don't switch off the light, then that movie is useless, correct? You cannot watch the movie when the light is on. So light क्या है? Light एक distraction है. The distraction is nothing but your sensory organs का जो stimulus आता रहता है. That is what it is. That's the analogy here. So when we go to sleep, so your sensory organs are cut off. Hence, you are able to see the sleep, see the dream. You are able to visualize the dream. But when you come awake, the dream is still continuing. But because of your sensory organs, which is giving you all the information, वो background में चला जाता है. Right? You are not aware that you are dreaming. But in reality, we are actually dreaming constantly, even while we are awake. So जब हम ड्रीम करते हैं, जो उसका जो कंटेंट है और जो एक्सप्रेशन है ड्रीम में, वो कहाँ से आता है? That is coming from your impressions, from your body, right? What is it that you're dreaming? You're dreaming either something that happened previously in your day, or something that might have happened 1 month ago, or in your previous life, something, right? You don't know. Sometimes you don't even recognize what it is, right? So it is all building up and it is coming to the surface at the subconscious level. It is not coming to the conscious level. But what we want to do in Yoga Nidra, we want to bring it up higher. We want to experience, if we want you to dream, we want you to consciously dream. That is the difference between a dream in a sleep and a dream in the Yoga Nidra. And these visualizations, images जो भी हम लेते हैं, this basically acts like a trigger. So all of us, इसमें भी कुछ selection criteria होता है. Normally we select common visualization, like examples that I said, temple or river, waterfall, etc., which everybody has seen, right? Everybody would have experienced it during their lifetime at some point. So when you invoke this particular image, then that image basically goes and triggers something in your unconscious and your subconscious mind. उसका related जो भी experiences and impressions है, वो surface में लेके आता है, right? When it comes to the surface, it explodes, right? And you visualize and you have that feeling in your body or in your mind. So we want you to dream consciously, and we don't want you to unconsciously dream it, because the moment you unconsciously dream, then it doesn't help you in the conscious state. For example, if you have a particular fear, right? In specific Yoga Nidra cases, they take you to that level where you want to take care of particular phobia. आपका कुछ fear है, आपका कुछ problem है, तो उसको भी address करते हैं. So we want you to experience that particular thing consciously, so that you digest that, hey, I have this particular issue, I go through that, I experience that, and then when you come to the conscious state, you are much more relaxed. You're not, no longer afraid of that particular point. Similarly, in Yoga Nidra, we choose these images so that it creates a kind of an explosion inside you. It brings all your latent samskaras deep from your unconscious level all the way up to the conscious level, right? And then you basically, create a bridge. Essentially, you're creating a bridge between your subconscious and your unconscious level to the conscious mind. That's what you're doing. So the purpose of visualization in the Yoga Nidra technique is to take these deep-rooted samskaras, because that is what is conditioning your mind. That is how you're functioning today, right? Your reaction is because of your subconscious and deep-rooted samskaras, and you want to bring it up to the surface. So that is the purpose of visualization. And once again, this is also deeply mapped into your brain, right? In all these three cases, you're talking about very scientific, technique used here, right? It is all related to your brain. It is it's really fascinating that, I don't know, how did our, rishis and, our ancestors know all these things? It's very fascinating, right? Some 4,000, 5,000 years ago, you cut your brain, and then, how did they realize that such a mapping is existing? It's really fascinating to, understand the thought process that went, right? So finally, Yoga Nidra or hypnosis में क्या difference है, right? Many times whenever you do Yoga Nidra to your participant, your student, they feel that it is similar to hypnosis. right? And ये question आता है कि क्या hypnosis है? Are you trying to hypnotize me, right? So ये different है. It is not hypnosis. It is completely different than hypnosis. और ये हमें को थोड़ा समझना है ठीक से. So एक चीज है, both hypnosis and yoga nidra starts at the same point. What are you doing? You're basically withdrawing your mind, right? वो चीज common है. You're withdrawing your mind and you're trying to get that person inward. So that is commonality in both the approaches. But as you proceed further, yoga nidra actually passes the hypnosis state and then it goes much further. Okay. So if you draw a graph like this, Yoga Nidra will go like this, hypnosis also go like this. Yoga Nidra will touch the hypnosis state and go in a different direction. Hypnosis will go in a different direction. Okay. वो क्या different direction है हम देखेंगे. So first thing is you are trying to you're cutting off your all your channels and you're keeping only the auditory channel on, which is the same as in hypnosis state as well. लेकिन hypnosis में क्या होता है कि you are the instructor is basically having a lot of control on the participant, right? So what is the hypnosis the psychiatrist is telling? He wants you to go to a particular point of your brain, correct? So let's say he wants to address some issue of you that you have. Maybe you have a fear or he wants to get some information out of you. What is he doing? He's basically taking you to that point in your brain, right? He's guiding you and taking you, he has full control over that, right? So that in hypnosis state, what happens is that person who is, undergoing the hypnosis, he literally he will ask a lot of permission. Even if he has to go to a bathroom, he'll ask the permission, right? It reaches that particular state because this is completely under the control of the person who's giving the hypnosis stage. Whereas, and that is actually going to a very limited part of your brain. You're not actually attacking the entire aspect of your brain. You're going to a very limited part of your brain in hypnosis, and it leads to a very tamasic condition. And you're completely shutting off, your brain to a large extent, and it leads to a tamasic condition. Whereas in Yoga Nidra, what do? There's a guided voice, right? There's a guided voice that says, okay, take your awareness here and there, but there's no particular direction given to you. Who's taking the sankalp? You are taking the sankalp, right? The practitioner is not telling that you have to go and do particular. You are creating your own direction for yourself. This is one of the fundamental difference, in Yoga Nidra. Secondly, we are telling that we want that person to be awake, right? Hypnosis में हम क्या करते हैं? We want to bring that person to a very tamasic condition because we don't want him to be awake, right? So the psychiatrist wants to go to that particular point in brain and he wants to एक channel, एक tube जैसा create करता है to go to that particular point in the brain and retrieve that information or attack that problem there. Whereas in Yoga Nidra, we constantly keep telling, stay awake, do not sleep, do not sleep. Why? Because we want that person to be aware all the time and consciously. So this actually creates a very, sattvic condition in your brain, right? And that is why you feel that relaxation and, because the experiment that was conducted as well, wherein your cerebral fluid is activated in such a way that it gives a very calm effect for your entire brain and your body. So this fundamentally two different approaches, at hypnosis, but it is important to understand that both of them start at the same place. The technique, the auditory channel, वो सब same है, लेकिन after a point, Yoga Nidra reaches the hypnosis and moves in a different direction. Hypnosis goes in a different direction. So ये difference you need to know. Then this is my last slide. So some of the tips and misconceptions in Yoga Nidra and what you finally achieve out of Yoga Nidra. So although we say that Yoga Nidra, first of all, you should not concentrate in Yoga Nidra, as I told in the very first step. You don't try to concentrate on anything because the moment you start concentrating on a particular body part, that's the reason we keep shifting the rotations very quickly, right? You don't want the participant to focus on either a thumb or a thing. So thumb aa gaya, immediately you go to the first finger, then go to second finger, third finger. We keep rotating. Similarly, the feeling of sensations as well. So just for a few seconds, you let him feel a particular sensation like a cold or a heat, and then we quickly move on to the next sensation. We don't want him to concentrate on that because the moment you start concentrating, then your natural flow of awareness is hindered. It's stopped. So you don't want that to happen. Second thing is you have the tendency to fall asleep in Yoga Nidra, right? So if it is especially if it is a longer session, like 30 minutes or 40 minutes of karte hain, so you may fall asleep. So the best part about this is it is okay. Even you have to stay awake, you have to try to stay awake, but if you don't stay awake for whatever reason, if you fall asleep, it is still okay, because your subconscious mind is still hearing that voice, right? Your subconscious mind is still hearing that voice. So even if you don't hear the voice, or sometimes what happens is you may miss the instructions. जैसे कि मैंने बोला कि okay, awareness, keep awareness of your second finger. किसी को confusion हो जाती है, second finger ये है कि ये है, right? So they may get confused. All these things will happen, or you may miss the instruction completely. You may forget elbow. So whatever happens, you just need to continue, right, to the next step. But you are subconsciously, that audio channel is on and it gets registered in your mind. So you should not worry too much, although you should try to stay awake and encourage that your participant, your client, to be awake. If he sleeps, it's okay, right? Don't worry too much. Over a period of time, he or she will develop that technique. Second thing is कि yoga nidra करने से पहले it is not necessary that you have to be completely calm, right? आपका state कैसे भी हो सकता है. You can be really angry, you can be sad, or whatever, right? It's okay. You can come start the yoga nidra in any condition of your mind. And then third thing is we say that okay, in the yoga nidra you stay motionless, try not to move too much, right? But if your client is not able to keep his body still, it's okay, right? If he wants to move it around here a bit, it's all right. So it's not going to really harm it too much. Don't need to be too strict about those things. Over a period of time, those uneasiness will settle down. Okay, so these are some common tips in Yoga Nidra. And finally, to sum it up, what are we achieving in Yoga Nidra? So one is complete relaxation, as we spoke about, at all three levels: mental, physical, and emotional levels, which is not completely achieved by sleep, right? That is number one. Second thing is you are able to fulfill opportunity to fulfill some kind of a higher goal using sankalp. You can actually reshape your personality by using by the process of sankalp. And then you're burning your old samskaras. Why is this important? Because this is the very reason why you have conflicts in your life, because your subconscious mind is pushing you in a particular direction. Your conscious mind wants to do something else. So you want to resolve this conflict. And the only way to do this is experience your samskaras, bring it to the surface. And you want to do that. Fourth thing is ability to learn something, some creative, you want to learn something like languages सीखना है या कोई भी topic सीखना है, आपका पूरा creative mind becomes really active by a repeated process of pratyahara. And then finally, it can also be used in deeper states. You can also use it as a path to samadhi. Okay, so this is what Yoga Nidra is all about. So happy to take any questions that you may have. Unmute, you can unmute and speak if you want.
Yes, sir. I have also tried Yoga Nidra multiple times, and most of the time I end up sleeping.
Correct.
So, I just want a clarity between this. You talked about we take the participant through dual situation of pain and pleasure, or warmth and cool. So this one thing is I'm not able to understand.
So okay, so let's revisit that once again. Let me mark that. So it is this part, right? Pain and pleasure. There's a feelings. Okay, so let me try to explain this once again. So normally when we have these sensations of dualities, of opposite sensations like this, so these usually operate in the opposite sides of your hemispheres, like pain and pleasures it is said that it operates in your opposite sides of your hemisphere, right? And you either experience pain or you either experience pleasure at any given point in time. There are some scenarios or occasions where you experience both, right? There are very few scenarios where you experience both, and it's very pleasurable, it's very nice, right, at that point in time. Now, why is this important? You look at it as, why exactly are we suffering in our day-to-day life today? Because of this likes and dislikes, because of this dualities, isn't it? We are suffering today because of something I like, something I don't like. Suppose you approach both with the same kind of an approach or your mindset, then you wouldn't be suffering about it, right? Don't know whether it is painful or it is not painful. I'm okay with it. If you go with that attitude, then your life becomes simpler, right? But we don't operate that way. We always have one pain and one pleasure. Similarly, basically we're talking about dualities out here, right? The feeling of dualities. So what we're trying to do, and this directly affects your emotions. Why are you emotional? Why do you get depressed? Why do you get angry, right? What is all this? This is all because of these dualities, right? You're angry about something, you're angry about something because you don't like something, right? You're sad about something because it's the opposite side of it, right? Because basically you're trying to address the duality. So you're attacking the emotional aspect of your body using this technique. So if you're able to bring about a balance, if you approach your life with a balance with these dualities, then you will be able to lead your conscious life in a better way, because you're already experienced and you want to balance these emotions. So in this technique, we're trying to invoke both these one by one, in quick successions, in different, like heat and cold ho gaya, ya pain, dislike, pain and pleasure ho gaya, heaviness, light. ऐसे different examples है. दोनों हम एक one by one we invoke it. And when it comes to the surface, instead of both these happening one by one in your brain, both these happens together. So that is what we call it as this practice. If you read this point number 8 here, this practice brings simultaneous operations of the nerve circuits in the opposite hemisphere of your brain. Under normal circumstances, only one operates at a time, right? We are trying to get both the channels at the same time. So a new neuronal circuit is established, right? So that is what you're trying to do here. And this directly affects your emotional reaction, so that you bring about that level of balance in your subconscious mind once again, right? In your unconscious and subconscious mind. And then when you come out of Yoga Nidra, and that carries on through your life, so that next time you encounter a similar situation of these dualities, you will be able to handle that slightly better.
So in a way, when we encounter a person, or suppose we don't like a quality of that person, so we would accept both the side of that person.
Exactly. Yes. Otherwise, you instinctively किसी को देखते हैं, आपका पसंद होता है, ये आदमी तो ठीक है, I cannot
Right.
continue working with him, right? ऐसे immediate वो क्यों होता है? क्योंकि आपके वो subconscious mind में ऐसा condition हो गया है, right? Because of your samskaras, because of your tendencies, once again, ऐसा you have conditioned yourself कि the moment you see somebody, okay, you start disliking that person, right?
Yes.
So once you go through this kind of experience, you basically don't go to those extremes. You stay balanced.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. It was really a profound session.
Great, thank you. Mansi, you had a question?
Yes, sir. Sir, आपने बताया ना कि through yoga nidra we can take out the fear from someone.
हाँ,
वो
वो
क्या?
थोड़ा, हाँ, वो एक, I don't want to go into that because I myself have not done that, to be honest. वो थोड़ा advanced technique है. तो
Okay.
उसमें यही जो visualization and other techniques जो use करते हैं, वो थोड़ा advanced level पे use करते हैं. It needs little bit of more special care and attention, because you're dealing with slightly different realm of experience. So इसमें क्या करते हैं, basically जो visualization techniques जो है, उसको थोड़ा modify करते हैं. They modify the visualization technique to suit that particular person's like condition. Right? That's what they do in that time. I personally won't recommend to use that in the early stages right now. I think it needs a little bit of more deeper understanding of this. I would probably stay at the first or second level, so that you're able to use it in a general way, so that it helps the person to release all the tensions in a normal way. But I have read that Yoga Nidra is used to take care of these kind of situations as well. But those are done by advanced practitioners.
Okay, thank you, sir.
काजल जी.
सर मेरी जो प्रॉब्लम है जो बीच बीच में मेरे को नींद आ जाती है कुछ भी चीज.
हाँ, तो नींद आते है तो योग निद्रा में जैसे मैंने बोला कि नींद आता है तो ठीक है, लेकिन
मतलब अवेयरनेस के साथ आती है, मतलब जस्ट
हाँ.
करके वापस आ जाती हूँ, ऐसा हो जाता है.
हाँ ठीक है, तो अब वापस तो आ रहे हैं ना, तो
हाँ,
प्रॉब्लम क्या
वो तो
है?
जस्ट सेकंड के लिए, मतलब वो ऐसा नहीं
हाँ.
है कि मुझे 10 मिनट 5 मिनट या 2
हाँ.
मिनट के लगता है, लेकिन
हाँ.
जस्ट सेकंड ऐसा
हाँ
करके
ठीक है,
वापस.
ठीक है, तो वो नॉर्मल है, क्योंकि सी in a normal situation as well as in yoga nidra, your mind is operating it at all these three levels, whether you like it or not, right? You think that you're conscious, but as you keep looking at movie में भी होता है, आप बुक पढ़ रहे हैं तो आपको नींद आ जाता है ना, क्यों होता है? Because your mind is slipping into a subconscious mode at some point in time. Again it goes, suddenly you realize I need to work, so that's okay. So yoga nidra में ऐसा हो रहा है तो it is okay, but if you repeatedly practice it over a period of time, then you will learn how to be awake. Because if you learn to be awake more during the session, then it helps you faster. That's the only difference, right? Because consciously आप कुछ चीज कर रहे हो at that level, then it will help you to be recover from that situation quicker. But नहीं हो रहा है तो नहीं हो रहा है, don't worry about it, right? Try to धीरे धीरे practice में आ जाता है, ठीक है? ओके, तो मैं आपको वीडियो ऑडियो रिकॉर्डिंग भेज देता हूँ. आई एम एक्सट्रीमली सॉरी, आई डोंट नो व्हाई इट डिडंट वर्क. आई हैव टू फिक्स इट बिकॉज दिस इज ट्रबलिंग मी, बिकॉज आई टेस्टेड इट एंड स्टिल इट डिडंट वर्क. टुमारो इफ आई हैव टू डू इट टू समबडी इज गोइंग टू बी द सेम प्रॉब्लम. ये रिकॉर्डिंग मैं आपको भेज देता हूँ. Whenever you get time, maybe tonight, I'd just like to know feedback as well about how exactly that session and how your experience is. And just let me know. I'll send it to you. I'll make a small group with. Let me just make a note of these names. Give me 1 minute. Zoom user कौन है? Zoom user?
पूजा वाधवा होगा शायद.
पूजा, हाँ पूजा जी, करेक्ट करेक्ट.
सिल्की जी भी थे, वो शायद बीच में से लेफ्ट हो गए. सिल्की भी थे.
जी और कविता जी, शीलम बिफोर. ठीक है, नो प्रॉब्लम.
ओके.
ठीक है, ऑलराइट. एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस? No? Okay. I really appreciate if you can give feedback of the session later on, on WhatsApp, so that it will be helpful for me for my own improvement. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Have a
sir.
good day. Bye-bye.